There was a red folder in my desk drawer that I'd never seen before in my life. Someone had shoved it there overnight, and I had a pretty good idea who. Name's Mike O'Sullivan, 48 years old, been running operations analysis at Hartfield Defense Solutions for 22 years since I got out of the Air Force. The folder was thick, official-looking, with federal classification markings I recognized from my clearance days. Problem was, I had no business possessing whatever was inside. I'd come in early that Tuesday morning, 6:47 a.m., coffee still too hot to drink. The office was empty except for the night security lights and that low hum of servers that never sleep. When I opened my bottom drawer to grab a stapler, there it was, wedged behind my old training manuals like someone had stuffed it there in a hurry. My stomach dropped. In the defense contracting world, unauthorized possession of classified materials doesn't get you a slap on the wrist. It gets you federal charges and a permanent goodbye to your security clearance. After 22 years of clean record, I wasn't about to let some amateur hour setup destroy my pension. The setup had Cole Madison written all over it. VP's son, 27 years old with a fresh MBA and zero real-world experience. He'd showed up 3 weeks ago like he owned the building, immediately started questioning everything we'd been doing since before he could tie his shoes. Kid walked around in khakis that cost more than most people's car payments, throwing around buzzwords like synergistic optimization and stakeholder alignment in meetings about basic procurement. See, Cole had a problem. Our company was 2 weeks away from our quarterly DCAA compliance review. That's Defense Contract Audit Agency for those who don't speak federal bureaucracy. One screw-up with documentation could cost us our $68 million Army logistics contract. Everyone was walking on eggshells, triple-checking every comma and decimal point. But Cole had been making mistakes, big ones. Last week he'd mislabeled $3.2 million in contract amendments as miscellaneous operational expenses in a compliance report. The week before that, he'd accidentally sent a competitor's proposal to one of our key subcontractors. Each time, I'd quietly fixed his mess after hours, eating vending machine dinner and pretending my soul wasn't slowly dying. Then things got weird. Cole started showing up early, staying late, always with some excuse about catching up on backlog. He'd hover around workstations when people stepped away, asking casual questions about system access and file locations. Last Thursday, he'd walked up to my desk with a thumb drive and asked for the password to our federal audit archives. "Can't do that, Cole." Above my clearance level. He'd laughed it off, but his eyes went cold. "Come on, Mike. We're all on the same team. Yeah, a team where some of us follow federal regulations." That's when I knew he was planning something. The kid was desperate, probably facing pressure from Daddy Dearest about his performance. And desperate people do stupid things like trying to frame a 22-year veteran for compliance violations. I didn't touch the folder. Instead, I pulled up our building's security system on my workstation. One advantage of being here longer than the furniture is knowing which cameras cover what areas. I logged into the overnight footage and scrolled back to 11:43 p.m. the previous night. There he was, Cole Madison, letting himself in with what looked like his father's executive access card. He moved fast, nervous, heading straight for my cubicle with that red folder under his arm. The timestamp showed him crouched by my desk for exactly 47 seconds, then walking away like he'd just planted a bomb. But here's where Cole's Ivy League education failed him. He'd also taken a selfie next to my workstation, probably for insurance in case anyone questioned his story later, the same smug grin he wore when he tried to explain supply chain management to our warehouse supervisor, who'd been doing logistics since before Cole was born. I saved the footage to a secure drive and started planning. This wasn't going to be a confrontation or some dramatic office showdown. This was going to be methodical, professional, and permanent. Because after 22 years of watching incompetent executives coast on family connections while real workers cleaned up their messes, I was done playing nice. First step was understanding what Cole thought he had on me. I sealed the folder in a Ziploc bag without opening it, maintaining evidence integrity just like they taught us in the service. Whatever was inside, Cole expected it to be enough to destroy my career when the auditors found it. Second step was turning his weapon against him. If Cole wanted to play games with federal evidence, he was about to learn why you don't bring privilege to a competence fight. I spent the rest of that morning acting normal. Smiled at colleagues, updated procurement spreadsheets, even complimented our department head's new haircut. Meanwhile, I was watching Cole out of the corner of my eye. He kept glancing toward my desk every few minutes, waiting for me to discover the folder and panic. Instead, I gave him nothing. Just another boring Tuesday of keeping this place running while the executives played strategy games with other people's livelihoods. Cole lasted until lunch before his nerves got the better of him. He strolled over to my cubicle around 12:30, trying to look casual. "Hey Mike, how's everything going? Any issues with your files or anything?" "Nope. Same old compliance prep." "Why?" "Just checking. Sometimes our security systems flag unusual activity. Want to make sure everyone's following protocols." I looked him straight in the eye. "I always follow protocols, Cole. 22 years of clean record." He forced a smile and walked away, but I could see the confusion building. His timeline was already falling apart. That afternoon, I put my plan into motion. Cole had a habit of leaving his briefcase wide open in his office when he went to lunch. Real leather, probably cost more than most people make in a month. Inside was his laptop, a bottle of cologne that smelled like expensive desperation, and about 10 loose printouts he couldn't explain if his life depended on it. I waited until I heard the elevator close behind him, then walked to his office like I belonged there, closed the door, pulled out my phone, and took a photo of his briefcase contents. Clear timestamp, everything documented. Then I reached into my bag and pulled out that red folder, still sealed in its evidence bag. I slipped it behind his laptop, positioned so it looked like he'd meant to grab it quickly but forgot. Another photo for the record. The beauty of Cole's plan was its simplicity. Plant evidence, wait for discovery, blame the target. But simple plans work both ways, and I'd just turned his briefcase into ground zero for a federal investigation. By the time he got back from lunch, smelling like overpriced steak and failed ambitions, I was deep into quarterly budget reports. Didn't even look up when he walked past. But I noticed everything, the way he kept checking his briefcase, the nervous energy, the growing realization that something had gone wrong with his perfect frame job. What Cole didn't know was that I'd been documenting his suspicious behavior for weeks, every late-night badge access, every unauthorized login attempt, every time he'd tried to access files above his clearance level. I had a digital paper trail that would make federal investigators very interested in his activities. The clock was ticking now. Our DCAA review was scheduled for Monday morning, 5 days away. By then, Cole Madison would learn the difference between playing office politics and committing federal crimes, and I'd still have my pension. Wednesday morning brought the kind of tension that makes grown men update their resumes. Word was spreading through the building like a virus. Federal compliance review moved up to Friday. No explanation, just a terse memo from corporate that felt more like a death sentence than a schedule change. Cole was unraveling. The confident swagger he'd worn for 3 weeks was cracking like cheap paint. He'd started snapping at junior analysts, questioning every report, hovering around workstations like a nervous supervisor. Yesterday, he'd actually yelled at our data specialist for using the wrong font in a spreadsheet. The kid was just trying to make numbers readable. I kept my head down and my mouth shut. After 22 years in this business, I'd learned that when executives start panicking, the smart money stays invisible. But I was also watching everything Cole did with the attention of a sniper tracking a target. Thursday afternoon, Pat Romano from IT Security stopped by my desk. Pat was old school, 30 years in the industry, the kind of person who knew where every digital skeleton was buried. She dropped a flash, drive next to my coffee cup without saying a word. "What's this?" I asked. "Backup of our server access logs from the past month." Interesting reading, if you're into that sort of thing. She walked away before I could ask questions. I plugged in the drive and started scrolling through the data. What I found made my blood pressure spike. Someone had been accessing federal audit files using my credentials. Late-night logins, 11:23 p.m. on Tuesday, 2:17 a.m. on Wednesday, 9:45 p.m. on Thursday. According to the system, I'd been downloading classified procurement documents and compliance reports at hours when I was home watching Netflix. But here's the thing about digital forensics. Every login leaves metadata: IP addresses, device signatures, geolocation data. The login showed my username and password, but they came from Cole's laptop, from his office, during times when building security cameras would show him working late. The moron had been using my stolen credentials to build a case against me, probably planning to play the hero who discovered my unauthorized access just before the federal review. Classic setup. Frame the target, then ride in as the savior who exposed the security breach. Only now I had proof of the real criminal activity, and Cole had just handed me everything I needed to destroy him. Friday morning, I dressed for war. Clean shirt, comfortable shoes, expression neutral. The look of a man who'd spent 2 decades dealing with military bureaucracy and wasn't impressed by corporate theater. Cole showed up late, naturally. Strolled in around 10:15 with his usual overpriced coffee and that Bluetooth headset that made him look like a telemarketing supervisor. He was trying to project confidence, but I could see the cracks. The way his hand shook when he reached for his briefcase. The nervous glances toward my desk every few minutes. Around 11:30, he made his move. Walked over to my cubicle with that fake executive smile and a manila folder under his arm. "Hey Mike, got a minute? I need to discuss some irregularities I've noticed in our system access reports. Here we go. Showtime." "Sure, Cole. What kind of irregularities?" He opened the folder with theatrical precision like a prosecutor presenting evidence to a jury. Inside were printouts of login records, file access logs, download histories, all showing my credentials being used to access classified materials at unusual hours. These logs show systematic unauthorized access to federal audit files, late-night downloads, classified document transfers, clear violations of our security protocols. I looked at the papers with the appropriate amount of concern. That's serious. When did this start? 3 weeks ago, right around the time our compliance issues began surfacing. Interesting timing. You think someone's been sabotaging our audit prep? Cole's eyes lit up. This was going exactly how he'd planned. That's my assessment. Someone with inside knowledge, someone who understands our systems well enough to cover their tracks. Have you reported this to security? I wanted to discuss it with you first. As department senior, you'd have insights into who might have this level of access. I leaned back in my chair, studying the documents. You're right, this is definitely sabotage. Someone's been very clever about it too. Using stolen credentials, working after hours, making it look like an inside job. Cole nodded eagerly. Exactly. The question is, who has the technical knowledge and system access to pull this off? Well, I said slowly. According to these logs, the unauthorized access came from IP address 192.168.17. That's not a workstation. That's one of our executive laptops. Cole's smile faltered. I don't think the IP address matters. The important thing is the credential theft. Actually, the IP address matters a lot. Each device has a unique signature. If we cross-reference this with our hardware registry, we can identify exactly which laptop was used for these illegal downloads. The color was draining from Cole's face. That seems like technical overkill. The credentials are the smoking gun here. Maybe. But federal investigators love technical evidence. Hard to argue with digital forensics. I reached into my desk drawer and pulled out Pat's flash drive. Funny thing, I've been tracking some unusual network activity myself. Want to see what I found? Cole took a step back. I think we should take this to HR first. Get proper procedures involved. Good idea. Let's call them now. I picked up my phone and dialed the HR director's extension. Sarah, Mike O'Sullivan, could you come down to the operations floor? We've discovered some security violations that need immediate attention. Federal compliance issues. Cole was backing away from my desk like I'd just pulled a grenade pin. Mike, maybe we should think this through. Get our facts straight before involving management. Facts are facts, Cole. Someone's been committing federal crimes using my stolen credentials. That's not something you sit on. Sarah Walsh arrived 3 minutes later with 2 security officers and the building's IT director. Sarah was former federal auditor herself, the kind of person who could smell fraud from 3 buildings away. What's the situation? She asked. Cole jumped in before I could speak. We've discovered unauthorized access to classified files. Someone's been using Mike's credentials to download federal audit documents. Sarah looked at the printouts Cole handed her, then at me. These show late-night access from your username. Can you explain this? I can explain it, I said, but not the way Cole thinks. I plugged Pat's drive into my computer and pulled up the server logs. These unauthorized downloads came from IP address 192.168.147. According to our hardware registry, that's laptop HDF 4471, assigned to Cole Madison. Cole's face went white. That's impossible. Someone must have hacked my laptop. Possible, Sarah said, but we'll need to examine the device. Standard procedure for security violations. I don't have it with me. It's at home. We'll send security to retrieve it. In the meantime, you're suspended pending investigation. Cole looked around the room like a trapped animal. This is a setup. He's been planning this. He knew I was investigating him. Sarah raised an eyebrow. Mr. O'Sullivan, is there anything else we should know? I reached into my bag and pulled out a sealed envelope. Security footage from Tuesday night showing how that classified folder ended up in my desk drawer. Timestamps, metadata, full chain of custody documentation. Cole's mouth opened, but no sound came out. The trap had snapped shut. The security team arrived at Cole's apartment 2 hours later and found exactly what we expected. His laptop contained a keystroke logger he'd installed on the shared workstation 3 weeks earlier. Every password, every login, every piece of access data from anyone who'd used that computer, including mine. But Cole had made one critical error that turned his smoking gun into evidence of his own crimes. The laptop also contained the original classified documents he'd stolen from the federal archives. Not copies. Originals, complete with digital signatures showing they'd been removed from secure servers using his father's executive access codes. Sarah Walsh called me into the conference room Friday afternoon to walk through the timeline. The federal investigators were arriving Monday morning and she wanted everything documented before they took over. So Cole steals classified documents using his father's credentials, she said, reading from her notes. Then he plants them in your desk to frame you for unauthorized possession. That's correct. But when that doesn't trigger immediate panic, he switches to Plan B, uses stolen login data to access federal files from his own laptop, creating a trail that points back to your credentials. Right. He was trying to build a case showing systematic unauthorized access by me. Probably planned to discover it just before the compliance review. And when he brought you the evidence of your supposed crimes, you were ready with proof that the access came from his device. 22 years in the Air Force teaches you to document everything. Sarah leaned back in her chair. The federal prosecutors are going to love this. Theft of classified materials, computer fraud, evidence tampering, conspiracy to frame a federal contractor. Cole's looking at 15 to 20 years. The irony wasn't lost on me. Cole had created the perfect frame job. Airtight evidence, clear motive, a target with access and opportunity. The only problem was he'd framed himself. Monday morning brought the cavalry, federal investigators, DCAA auditors, computer forensics specialists, and enough legal firepower to prosecute a small war. They set up in our main conference room and started working through the evidence like surgeons dissecting a corpse. I spent 4 hours walking them through the timeline. Every login, every document transfer, every piece of digital evidence that showed Cole's systematic theft of classified materials. The investigators were thorough but professional. They'd seen this kind of inside job before. Mr. O'Sullivan, the lead investigator said, your documentation and evidence preservation probably saved this investigation. Without your foresight, Madison might have successfully destroyed the evidence and disappeared, just doing my job. Actually, you went well beyond your job. This kind of methodical evidence gathering, it's impressive work. Around noon, they brought Cole in for questioning. He arrived with 2 lawyers and an attitude that suggested he still thought Daddy's connections could make this disappear. That lasted about 10 minutes. When they showed him the keystroke logs from his own laptop, his face went gray. When they presented the classified documents with his digital fingerprints all over them, he started sweating. When they played the security footage of him planting evidence in my desk, he asked for a plea bargain. The lawyers huddled for 20 minutes before emerging with a surrender offer. Cole would plead guilty to computer fraud and evidence tampering in exchange for testimony about his father's involvement. Turned out the VP had been selling classified procurement data to competitors for 18 months. Cole was just the delivery boy who got greedy and sloppy. Tuesday afternoon, I got a call from Janet Morrison at Blackwater Defense Systems. Word travels fast in the defense contracting world, and my role in exposing the security breach had already made the rounds. Mike, we've been following the situation at Hartfield. Impressive work exposing that security violation. Just protecting federal contracts, ma'am. That's exactly the kind of integrity we're looking for. We have a senior consultant position opening up. Federal compliance oversight, $140,000 base, plus performance bonuses. Interested? I was. After 22 years of watching incompetent executives coast on family connections while real workers cleaned up their messes, the idea of working somewhere that valued competence over politics was appealing. When do you need an answer? Take your time. The position's yours when you're ready. Wednesday morning brought the final chapter. Cole Madison, former director of strategic operations, was escorted out of the building in handcuffs. Federal charges, security clearance permanently revoked, career in defense contracting officially over. His father had already resigned to avoid prosecution, though word was the feds weren't done with him yet. The $68 million Army logistics contract was secure. Our compliance review had turned into a commendation for exposing internal security threats, and I'd gone from potential scapegoat to the guy who saved the company from federal prosecution. Sarah Walsh stopped by my desk that afternoon with a folder marked Personnel Action. The board approved a promotion and retention package. Senior Operations Director, a $125,000 salary, enhanced benefits, guaranteed pension protection. It was a good offer. 7 years from retirement, security clearance intact, respect from colleagues who'd watched me take down a federal criminal. But Blackwater's offer was better, and after 22 years of playing it safe, I was ready for something new. I appreciate the recognition, Sarah, but I'm taking a position elsewhere. She nodded, like she'd expected that answer. Can't say I blame you. After what you've been through, fresh start makes sense. Nothing personal, just time for a change. Understood. You've earned it. Thursday was my last day at Hartfield Defense Solutions. No farewell party, no cake in the break room, just a quiet exit with my security clearance intact and my reputation stronger than when I'd started. The red folder that had nearly destroyed my career was now evidence in a federal prosecution. Cole's briefcase, once a symbol of privilege and entitlement, had become the smoking gun that ended his father's criminal enterprise. Pat Romano walked me to the elevator with her usual coffee that could strip paint and her permanent expression of mild satisfaction. "Heard you're heading to Blackwater," she said. "News travels fast. Defense contracting's a small world, especially for people who know how to handle federal compliance. 22 years of practice. Cole Madison won't be practicing anything for a long time. Federal prosecutors are talking 18 years minimum." The elevator arrived and I stepped inside. Sometimes the system works exactly like it's supposed to, not often enough. But when it does, it's beautiful. Friday morning, I started my new job at Blackwater Defense Systems as Senior Compliance Consultant. Better pay, better benefits, and the kind of respect you earn after exposing federal crimes and protecting $68 million in government contracts. Cole Madison was arraigned on 14 federal charges, including theft of classified materials, computer fraud, and conspiracy. His father was indicted on 23 counts of selling defense secrets. Both were looking at decades in federal prison. And me, I kept my pension, my clearance, and my faith that competence still matters more than connections. Sometimes you don't need to destroy your enemies. Sometimes you just need to let them destroy themselves while you document the process. The quiet ones always remember. And when justice finally comes calling, we're the ones with the evidence. 6 months later, I was sitting in my new office at Blackwater Defense Systems when the news broke. Cole Madison had been sentenced to 16 years in federal prison. His father got 22 years for selling classified defense data to foreign competitors. The judge called it one of the most serious breaches of national security in recent memory. My role in exposing the conspiracy had earned me more than just a new job. The Department of Defense had recognized my work with a civilian commendation for protecting federal contracts. Defense News ran a feature story about how one analyst's attention to detail had prevented millions in compromised procurement data from reaching hostile nations. But sitting in that office, looking out at the Colorado mountains through floor-to-ceiling windows, I wasn't thinking about recognition or revenge. I was thinking about how simple it had been to let Cole destroy himself. The kid had every advantage: rich father, Ivy League education, connections that could have opened any door in the industry. All he had to do was shut up, learn the business, and let competent people teach him how defense contracting actually worked. Instead, he'd chosen to play games with federal security because he thought his privilege made him untouchable. That red folder he'd planted in my desk turned out to contain procurement schedules for a classified submarine contract. information that foreign competitors would have paid millions to access. Cole had stolen it from his father's secure files, probably planning to sell it himself before deciding to use it as a frame job against me. The irony was perfect. In trying to destroy my career, he'd handed federal investigators everything they needed to unravel his father's entire criminal network. 18 months of selling defense secrets, compromising national security, and enriching themselves at taxpayers' expense. All exposed because Cole got greedy and stupid. My phone buzzed with a text from Pat Romano. She'd taken early retirement after the Hartfield investigation, moved to Florida, and was apparently enjoying herself fishing for redfish and drinking beer on the beach. Saw the news about Cole's sentencing. 16 years seems light for treason, but I'll take it. How's life at Blackwater? I typed back. Good. Competent management makes a difference. No kidding. Heard they're putting you in charge of the new Federal Compliance Division. She was right. Next month I'd be leading a team of 12 analysts responsible for ensuring all Blackwater contracts met federal security standards. $340 million in annual business riding on our ability to keep classified information classified. It was the kind of responsibility that came with real authority and the respect of people who understood the stakes. The promotion had come with a signing bonus that let me pay off my mortgage and put serious money into retirement accounts. At 48, I was finally in a position where my pension wasn't dependent on the whims of incompetent executives or their entitled children. But the best part wasn't the money or the recognition. It was working for a company that valued experience over connections, where 22 years of keeping federal contracts secure meant something more than being a convenient scapegoat when things went wrong. I'd learned something important during those weeks when Cole was trying to frame me. The system only works when good people are willing to fight for it, not with drama or confrontation, but with documentation, preparation, and the kind of methodical professionalism that turns amateur criminals into federal defendants. Cole had counted on my silence. He'd assumed that after 22 years of keeping my head down and cleaning up other people's messes, I'd just take whatever he dished out. Play the role of the quiet analyst who gets blamed when executives need a scapegoat. He'd been wrong about that, and it cost him everything. The phone rang, interrupting my thoughts. Sarah Walsh from Hartfield, probably calling with some administrative detail about the ongoing federal investigation. Mike, how's the new job treating you? No complaints. What can I do for you? Actually, I'm calling with an update you might find interesting. The Army just awarded us a 5-year extension on the logistics contract. $280 million over 5 years. They cited our exceptional security protocols and proactive threat identification as key factors. The contract Cole had nearly destroyed with his criminal stupidity was now worth 4 times its original value. His attempt to frame me for security violations had actually improved the company's reputation with federal clients. That's good news for Hartfield. It is, and there's something else. The Army specifically requested that any future compliance oversight be handled by someone with your qualifications. They were impressed with your work on the Madison investigation. I appreciate that, but I'm settled here at Blackwater. I figured. Can't blame you for moving on, but if you ever want to come back, we'd make it worth your while. After hanging up, I walked to the window and looked out at the mountain peaks rising above the Denver skyline. Clean air, competent colleagues, work that mattered. It was a long way from that morning 6 months ago when I'd found a red folder in my desk drawer and realized someone was trying to destroy my career. Cole Madison was serving his sentence at a federal facility in Pennsylvania. His security clearance was permanently revoked, his career in defense contracting over forever. His father was in a different prison, probably wondering how selling state secrets to Chinese competitors had seemed like a good idea. And me? I was running compliance for one of the most respected defense contractors in the country. My clearance was upgraded to top secret, my salary had doubled, and my retirement was secure no matter what happened in the next 15 years. The quiet ones always remember. But sometimes the quiet ones also know exactly when to stop being quiet. 3 weeks later, I got an invitation to speak at the National Defense Contractors Conference about internal security protocols. The topic? How one analyst's vigilance prevented a major security breach. Standing at that podium, looking out at 800 defense industry professionals, I thought about Cole Madison, about privilege and competence, about the difference between earning respect and demanding it. Ladies and gentlemen, I began. Security isn't about systems or protocols or compliance checklists. It's about people who take their responsibilities seriously, even when nobody's watching. Especially when nobody's watching. The applause was loud and long. But the real satisfaction came from knowing that somewhere in federal prison, Cole Madison was probably watching my speech on the prison library computer, finally understanding what he'd thrown away. The quiet ones always remember. And sometimes we get the last word.